Hi, I'm Diane Rogers, talking to you from British Columbia, Canada today. This is a very quick talk to introduce some of you or reintroduce you to Canadian records that are useful for family history. What I'm going to look at today, I think will save you some time and likely some frustration as well in doing your research. I'm here, of course, to celebrate VGA's 6th anniversary, and I'm very happy to be able to do that. I'm looking forward to a really good year 2024 for VGA. So the main website that I'm talking about and in this talk is Can Genealogy. This is the website put on by Dave Obey, who's a very well-known Canadian genealogist. He's written several books about genealogy in Canada and other topics. You can see two of the books there. One's about immigration and one is about counting Canada. That's about the census. So you can look for those books if you're able. If you otherwise, you may find that they are available in a library somewhere near you, I hope. The website itself, this part of the website, is for finding those records that we all want to find. The major ones would be, in this case, probably the census records for Canada. You'll see there's information there about historic newspapers in Canada, which I will talk about a bit later. But also any other records that are pertinent to the area that it is organized by in this website. So for Alberta, for example, it will give you links. If you click there, it will give you links to census pages for various years that are for Alberta, where Alberta is now, really. There have always been some changes for some provinces in territory, but usually the organization now is the way it is right now. So that includes also the territories up north in Canada, and there are differences in which levels of government deal with certain documents. But in this case, because it's organized by region, Dave has, for example, the censuses, which are federal in nature. They are organized under each province, as are birth, marriage, and death indexes provincially. Now, in Canada, provinces and territories generally look after birth, marriage, and death documents. So you will find that throughout other websites. The reason that I am particularly wanting you to look at this first is because it is well organized and it is up to date, and can't always say that about other websites. Now, there are a number of things that I'll talk about later, which will include some other sites, but this is the main one. I would like you to take your time and go through it, depending on which areas you're interested in, and follow the links and have a look for your people. Again, if you haven't looked before, then it will all be new. If you looked a few years ago, of course, there will be new information available to you. Now, Dave does have information about newspapers for Canada, but I personally promote this website as an adjunct to that. You will see that Dave has links to this website, so you can use those first. But I would also suggest that you have a look at his organization for the provinces, because he also has He has newspapers and directories, for example. He also has others, depending on the area. He may have obituary links, birth, marriage, and death registration or index links, photos, yearbooks. But directories and newspapers, I think, are pretty vital to genealogy nowadays, certainly in Canada, where they were very important in all the areas. So that's another website that I would like you to make a note of. And remember, you can check with me after about getting a handout, if you like. Now, the next website that I think is really important, of course, is the Family Search Research Wiki. You can use the wiki without even signing into Family Search. I don't suggest you do that because there's loads of stuff there, including original copies of original documents that you don't want to miss. But what's important about the wiki is that it includes this kind of information. I've just used this as a example, really. Understanding Quebec Catholic records. So understanding Roman Catholic records in Quebec is vital to doing research there. Or indeed, if you have Roman Catholic families elsewhere in Canada, of course, you will probably be thinking about the same information as in this document here, but it won't be as ancient as some of the Quebec records are. Knowing how to read a certain document, in this case in another language for many people, and what the purpose was for keeping the records and how they were kept is very important to genealogy. So keep an eye on the Family Search Wiki. There are pages there for every province and good information. Many links there, again, would go to other websites. But of course, Family Search itself has a good selection of Canadian records that you can read right there. Now, I do want to mention one more website. This is from the Canadian Council of Archives, Archives Canada, it's called, archivescanada.ca. I mentioned records in other provinces, church records in other provinces, for example. And this is where you will find information about the archives that may hold records that you need to see. Not everyone, of course, in the earlier periods was listed in a government birth, marriage, or death index or document. They may have church records that will help you, though. Even if your people, you have your birth, marriage, and death records from, say, the British Columbia government, you may still want to know about their church affiliations and their activities. I feel that's very important in many cases, and I have certainly taken advantage of using this, what it amounts to an index of what's known to be in certain archives all across Canada. It's very useful. It's not, I've picked a page that had church documents mentioned, but you can also look up, for example, women's organizations, which I do frequently, to see if I can find out which women were in certain organizations. This may be of real interest to you. So that's my really, really, really quick start or quick refresh for your genealogy in Canada. I hope you will continue to look at other sources, of course, and background information. For example, the census, what was said about the census. I always like to know certain places if I find my people living somewhere. I like to know what the newspapers had to say about the census. because they'll all be talking about it. You don't always know what they thought about your people, but they'll be talking about it or noticing what people are saying. So there's just a little snippet that you can use for your own research. You probably don't need to know much about me, but I have been around quite a while doing genealogy, and I have a lot of favorite topics, and that's why I do talks. um, and you can catch me by email at canadagenealogy@shaw.ca, or you can go to have a look at my blog, which is canadagenealogy@blog.blogspot.com. It's really called Canada Genealogy or Change Your Aunt. You have to look at the website to find out why that's the name. And I should have mentioned actually, Dave Obey has a list of Canadian genealogy bloggers, which includes myself, although I think I'm the oldest. But that's something else that you might have a look at, because there's always good topics out on the web.